Timing a prediction accurately is probably the part of a forecast that all diviners and fortune tellers would love to get right the most. Unfortunately, timing is the hardest thing to predict. Even religious scholars can't time biblical prophecies, and instead they follow the sequence of events. But this doesn't mean that we can't have some indications of time or that we can't use some tricks to gauge the timing of a prediction. Hi everyone, I'm Leila, the Lenormand reader, and I've been reading Lenormand almost exclusively for over 20 years. If you want to master Lenormand, you have come to the right place. Please subscribe and hit the bell so you get videos about all things Lenormand. I post forecasts and tutorials every week. I think that if we got timing right with our predictions, divination would have replaced science a long time ago. But the truth is that timing is really hard to get right, even with science, and I would be suspicious of anyone who tells you that they get it right all the time. With Lenormand, like with any other deck and other divination techniques, it is possible to read time and timing through the cards. So I want to tell you a little about them in this video, but before we get into that and in details, I want to go over some general ideas when it comes to predicting time and timing. First, I have a few thoughts about divination techniques that can help with timing. The first one that comes to mind is astrology. Planetary transits are definitely used with quite a bit of success and accuracy to predict both events and the timing of these events. Astrology is a very powerful tool, and depending on what you're after, you might like to get a reading by a professional astrologer if you have a serious question in mind whose timing is really key for you. Another powerful tool that I personally like to work with is numerology. Numerology, like astrology, can be used for analyzing personality and also for understanding broad life cycles and personal cycles. Numerology can be pretty easy to work with, and you might like to try your hand at it, but you could also use the services of a numerologist to find out about when it's best to follow a certain course of action. There aren't as many numerologists around. They're far fewer than astrologers. When it comes to timing questions, working with astrology or numerology normally involves having a specific course of action in mind and then looking at transits to find out when it might be best to take this action. This means finding the transits whose energies support this course of action you have in mind. And the more personal the transits, the more accurately you'll be able to tell when it's best to pursue this course of action. By personal transits, I mean the transits that are aligned with your birth chart, be it your astrological or your numerological birth chart. Are there divination tools and techniques that you use to help you with your timing questions? Please let me know in the comments. Another technique you can use with almost any divination tool to predict timing is to have your time frame embedded in your question. In other words, you time box your readings. For example, instead of asking when will you get a new job, you can ask if you will get a new job in the next couple of months. Time boxing is my preferred approach, especially with clients. That's because I then rely less on the cards to carry timing indications, and I focus more on interpreting the cards to figure out the outcome that my client is after. Also, asking the client to time box their question has the benefit of getting them to think more about their situation. I like to time box my own readings because I know that I will want to follow up on the question and ask about it again, so time boxing helps me discipline the frequency of my readings. Tell me if you time box your readings or do other things to help you frame the timeline of your question. So these are the general techniques that you can use in parallel with your readings. Now, before we examine Lenormand's cards for how they might express time, I want to make a brief point about how I personally look at time and timing. Time and timing are what I call card correspondences. I use the word correspondences to describe the meaning that a card might take on for a specific context. For example, what does a card mean in the context of love? What does it mean in the context of money? What does it tell us when it's describing the character of a person? The specific meaning of a card for a given context is what I call its correspondence for that context. To take an example, let's look at the bear. What does the bear mean for love? Usually, it suggests an important connection. It can even mean the big love. What does the bear mean for money? It is usually the card of wealth and income. What about with someone's character? The bear is typically someone who is strong, influential, and sometimes imposing or overbearing. The bear is classically associated with the mother, whereas it's the house that is associated with the father. In the same way that love, money, and personality are card correspondences, I feel time and timing are also correspondences. What does a card tell us with regards to time? Is it soon or is it a while from now? When you practice finding meanings for the cards for different contexts like love, money, work, personality, and others, you are training your interpretive imagination in amazing ways. And this will enable you to spontaneously make sense of the cards for any question you are asked. So let's now examine some Lenormand cards to see what they tell us about time. One popular technique used with Lenormand's cards to interpret time and timing is by using the card number. Every Lenormand card is associated with a number from 1 to 36. That's for 36 cards in the deck. This number is set to represent days, weeks, months, or sometimes years. For example, the snake. The snake is card number 7, and this can mean 7 days, 7 weeks, 7 months, or even 7 years. You can imagine how I feel about this technique. I don't really like it. A bit like I don't really like using the pip suits to indicate a yes or a no. I don't really like using the card numbers to suggest a straight up number of days, weeks, months, or years. I feel it's too formulaic and often it isn't truthful. I seriously doubt that you can predict 7 days, 7 weeks, months, or years and get it consistently right, even if it's approximate. But you know what? I'm happy to suspend my skepticism. If you like using the card numbers in your practice and you find that they work for you, then that is great. Do what feels right for you and please share your experience with us. I would love to know about it. So personally, I prefer to go with the card meanings and the essence of the cards by resonating with their symbol. So what does that look like with time and timing? The obvious and simple way to do this is by grouping the cards in terms of fast versus slow. This is also about whether something happens soon or happens after a while. So in this sense, the anchor, bear, coffin, house, lily, mountain, road, ship, snake, tower, and tree tend to be slow-moving cards. Their timelines last from several months to maybe a few years. When you look at these cards, you can tell that they're slow-moving, right? The anchor is heavy and keeps the ship in place. The bear is a big animal that is not all that fast. Sometimes it's fast, but it's kind of heavy. The coffin is obviously slow if it moves at all. The house doesn't move and takes time to build. The mountain, tower, and tree, like the anchor and house, they don't move, they're heavy and slow. And the tower is also associated with time insofar as its meaning is concerned, and the tree takes time to grow and bloom. The road is a long path ahead, and the snake is slow and cautious. So just from looking at the cards and having a basic understanding of their meaning, you can gauge whether their timeline is fast or slow. And for the fast cards, it's the same idea. We can get a sense that a card is speedy just from its symbol and having a general understanding of its meaning. So the bird, clover, flowers, garden, key, letter, rider, scythe, star, and whip are all fast-paced cards. Their timelines tend to be within a few days to a few weeks, maybe a few months. And then we have the in-between cards that typically cover a timeline of a few weeks to a few months. I feel the dog and fox are in here. The child and stork can suggest 9 months or so because of their association with pregnancy. And the sun and moon are associated with 1 month. The moon obviously because of the moon cycle, and the sun because its card number is 31 and a month has 30 or 31 days. And then you have the cards that don't really express timing all that well. The heart, for example, isn't really telling of time. The Garden and others might also fit in this category. And you have cards like the Book and Cross that can be mysterious and suggest that the timeline is not known. And finally, we have cards like the Key, Clover, and Scythe that can suggest things happen unexpectedly. So these are some suggestions for time and timing correspondences of the cards. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're probably debating some of these ideas, which is good. You should debate them. You might be thinking that the snake can be fast because of how fast it can bite and catch its prey. And the letter can be slow because it's associated with snail mail. So these are totally valid ideas. In fact, many authors will read the mouse and snake as faster cards. Personally, I'm of two minds about this. The mouse as an animal is speedy and moves pretty fast, but as a card, the mouse means issues and little problems here and there, so it throws obstacles our way, and as a result, it will slow us down. And the snake might act fast when it bites to catch its prey, but otherwise, it tends to be slow and careful. So I personally don't associate the snake with a faster timeline. So as part of figuring out the time and timing of the cards, it's important that you go with how you feel about them and what resonates best with you. Your intuition matters. It matters all the time. It doesn't just matter for how you interpret time and timing, but also for every other aspect of the cards. But if you still want inspiration for how to interpret the cards and their correspondences, then you might like to get a copy of my Card Combinations Master. In it, I cover many card correspondences for each card, in addition to its combination meaning with every other card. You can use them as a launchpad for your own take on the cards. I'll link the master in the description box. So these are my thoughts for you for time and timing correspondences. Let me know your thoughts about this. I'm really looking forward to them. If you'd like to get started with Lenormand, then download my free Lenormand starter guide through the link in the description box, and also have a look at my pro guides and in-depth learning resources. I offer one of the few comprehensive programs for mastering Lenormand, so be sure to check it out. If you like this video, hit that like button and be sure to subscribe and share it with your Lenormand friends. Thank you so much for watching.